So you found yourself with a terrible oboe reed, but you just don't know what's wrong with it. Stick around and I will show you how I diagnose the problem with an oboe reed without even sticking it inside the instrument. Hi, I'm Rachel, and today I'm going to show you the things I check on an oboe reed to make sure it's going to give me the best sound possible. Let's get into it. The first thing you want to do is actually take a look at the reed and see what it looks like. You want to look at the corners to make sure that they haven't gotten chipped or shaved off too much. It should be square at the top. And you want to make sure there aren't any cracks. This one, it's not finished because as I was tying it on, it actually cracked. You can see that line straight up there. So this reed is never going to work. But I would not throw it away, especially if you are a beginning reed maker, because this is really good to practice your scraping on. So you can practice just taking off a little bit on the tip and not cutting the corners. Or you can practice making long scrapes without leaving little divots right where your knife stops. So it is still valuable even though it will never play for you. This one you can see where it's got that ridge right there where the cane is built up every time the knife has stopped. That makes it hard for the vibrations to go through. Another thing to check is the length of the reed. It's pretty typical for a reed to be tied on to about 70 millimeters. This one, I'd probably say is about 71. And it's just really personal preference. I actually like mine a little bit longer than 70 because I have a tendency to play sharp. So I can correct that with the reed. But if you're just starting out, 70 is a really good starting point. Another thing you want to check is how far the string comes up when it was tied on. So the average staple is 47 millimeters. So if the strings come right to 47, like this one, then that's good. If they are tied on too long, it can close the tip or make it too open if they're too short. So that could be a cause if you're having problems if it's not at 47. Next thing you want to check is to see if it's leaking any air down the side of the reed or in the string. So the way you do this is to test the suction. So you put your finger on the end of the staple and put your mouth up to the strings and suck out the air, and then pull off the reed, still sucking, and then if it makes a popping sound like this, it means that it is airtight. This one, let's check this. This one does not make the pop. So this one has a leak in it somewhere. But this one is what we want to hear. The next thing we're going to check is the crow. The crow is the sound that the reed makes when you're not using your embouchure to change anything about it. So it's just the way the reed sounds. So to do this, you put your mouth up against the strings and just blow. And start soft and then blow harder to see what it does. Like this. So when I first started blowing soft, it did not do anything, which means that it's kind of a hard reed and the tip is too thick. So the vibrations aren't getting through the tip very well. But when I blow harder, see if you can hear two pitches. So it starts with one pitch and then another one sneaks in there. Can you hear those two pitches? There's a higher one and a lower one. So this is called a double crow, and that's what we want. That means that the vibrations are getting into the back of the reed as well, and not just the tip. But it could be improved on the tip a little. The next thing with the crow that we want to check is the pitch. So we don't want it to be too sharp or too flat. So we want it to crow about a C. So let's check this one. I'll show you. So it's crowing pretty close to a C. So that's pretty decent. You also want to check to see if the reed is balanced. So one way you can do this is to use your plaque. So you want to make sure that you've got one that is still pretty black. The more you scrape on it, the more silver it gets, and then it's harder to tell. So you want to make sure your reed is wet. The tip is really wet. So I'm going to dip it in my water so that it's very wet, and I'm not going to shake it out. And then to insert the plaque into the reed, you want to squeeze lightly on the side with your finger and very carefully put it in so that you're not hitting the tips of the blades. Just to make sure that I'm not going to crack it, I also get a little water on my fingertip and put it right on the tip. And then very gently push back on the plaque, and you can see how thin it is on the tip. This one still looks pretty thick on the tip. You want it to be quite dark, showing that the tip is very thin. So to check for balance, you want to make sure that it's the same in all 4 quadrants. So we divide the reed right at the middle for 2 quadrants on this side and 2 quadrants on this side. So if it is not balanced on all of the sides, then it's not going to sound the way you want it to. So this one is a little bit thick on this tip over here on this corner. So that's something we can work on. So to see the balance of the back of the reed, since it's a lot thicker and you can't use the plaque to really see it like the tip, we use a backlight. So you would just hold your reed up to a bright light or a window to help you see through it. So I will show you what I mean. So we're going to just hold it up against this flashlight, and you can see through the reed. So here you can see the heart is the thickest spot, the tip is the thinnest, and you can see the spine going through the reed. These are the windows. They get a little lighter. So let's take a look at this side and compare it to the other side for balance. The heart on this side is more rounded like this. This other side kind of comes up this way. So I would probably take a little bit out right there to make it more balanced. And then let's look at the back here. So it looks pretty good, I think. And you want to make sure that you can always see the spine going all the way up. Some people have it going up all the way through the tip, but I like the tip on my reeds a little bit thinner than that. So it's all just personal preference a lot with oboe reed making. Another thing to check is the profile of the reed. So you're going to take the reed and hold it sideways and just look how it looks from the side to see where cane has been taken off. So when you first start with a reed blank without any scraping on it, it will be just pretty straight through the whole thing. So it'll start at the back and just gently slope down. And then the more you scrape on it, it will start to get a different shape on the profile. So you want it to come down a little bit in the back, come up a little bit in the heart, and then go down more for a thin tip. Here's another example. This one could actually have a little more taken out in the windows right here in the back. So you can see where you need to work on your reeds in the profile. And then just make sure that anything you take out on one side, you do the same to the other side to keep it balanced. And another example, you can see this one has enough taken out of the windows. It comes down more, and then it comes up where the heart is, and then down to the tip right there. And it looks pretty balanced. It looks about the same on both sides of the reed, over here and over here. Kind of goes in at the same angles. To help you make use of this information, I've created a PDF that outlines everything we've discussed in this video, plus an extra bonus tip. You can download this resource for free by following the link in the description. So now that you know what's wrong with your reed, how do you fix it? That's the question that I'm going to be answering in my next few videos. So if you liked this, give me a like and subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. Hope to see you there.